How, mi-kei, peace and blessings and joy to all. I'm here to discuss a few little components of agarwood. It's been used traditionally for thousands of years. It's been in Vedic traditions, Buddhism, it's in the Bible, highly used by the Muslim population, and various other modalities. There's a lot of uses and medicinal values that could be encompassed by using this, which I will be speaking about, is the Agarwood oil. Um, I've been on this kind of search with it for around a year now, and I've met a lot of ups and downs and a lot of good knowledge, and I thought that I might share some of that with everybody else. It's not really something that you would just buy off the street and get lucky with. So I've had some ups, I've had some downs, as I was saying, and I would like everyone to get a little more heads up on some of it. I don't claim to know anything. The only thing I know is nothing. And I would like to just let people know, hey, I've spent some thousands of dollars, and here's a way that you can all benefit if you so wish. I want to talk a little bit about the Agarwood varieties. Um, there's maybe around 17 varieties. There's around 8 or 9 that are known to produce the oil. Uh, and it's from various regions, most of them in the Asian type of methodology of places. Even though there could be some exploration in others, I will say that it is on cities endangered species list, some of the varieties, and it should be used with utmost caution and care and respect to the earth. I'll generally speak about, let's say, somewhat the middle grades to lower grades. There are a few great higher grades that I have sampled and used over time, but at a price value, I'm going to limit and let them lie, even though a few of them would be categorized in that higher level. There's a few great places you can look to do that. Maybe on future videos we can discuss that further. Agarwood is not the easiest thing to purchase, as I mentioned, and a lot of people adulterate it. It's probably the most adulterated oil, and it's difficult to get the truth out of people. I've found that buying from big suppliers, maybe you can only get a smaller quantity or only certain little species of it, that it's proved to be much better for me personally. I've did some purchasing off eBay, and I've met not such good solutions to my Agarwood search, to keep it sort of simple. I will discuss a little bit of some of those, but nothing in too much detail. I will say I found one out of 7 sources that turned out to be something worthwhile. It wasn't a high-end Agarwood, but they did have 2 varieties, and they both seemed to prove very well in application. I've also found that there's some good distributors in the UK where you can purchase some of the Agarwoods. So I would be very cautious of where you buy it, how you buy it, and who you get it from, because I've been disappointed and it is costly. Agarwood oil can cost, let's say, between $20 a milliliter to $150, $200 a milliliter. So this is not something that you just, throw your money around to get. Also, because it's endangered, you don't want to, just because you could buy it, be getting all of it either. I first have come into Agarwood oil at a fairly young age by studying martial arts and prayer. Several of the people who instructed me, I noticed they wore this strange smell. They spoke to me about it somewhat. They used terms that I had no idea what they were, and once in a while I did receive that application. Another time when I was older, let's say in my 20s, in the village of New York City, There was a Hindu gentleman who did a lot of prayers around, and he had some products, and he had some agarwood oil. I forget what he called it, Galich or something, and it was pretty expensive. I remember it was like a little jar, maybe 10 ml, maybe a little more. Maybe it was those Tola bottles, and he wanted $50 for it. You know, at the time, getting $50 oil from somebody was a little, absurd, we would feel. Purchased it twice from him and used it in an application, but this was many, many years ago. The bottles are long gone, and I don't believe he's any longer with us. God bless him. Then, through my course of studies and learning and doing these alchemical, artistic healing products, a gentleman that I was studying with from Egypt mentioned agarwood to me. And I was like, I thought I maybe knew about it. And he was like, this is, the ultimate and blah, blah, blah. He really went into detail about telling me its medicinal properties and its healing and its energy and a lot of the things that I wanted to do, how it would benefit. And so I started this search and purchasing and learning, I would say around 11 months ago. And I've made some progress since, and I'd like to discuss it some. So I'd like to say something about the suppliers. I'd be very careful where you get agarwood oil from. I would buy and look and research prior to buying, and I'm welcome to share any of my resources with anyone that's interested. There's some great information on places like Base Notes and Fergenica and a few other of these blog group sites where you could get a little information to cut through the mustard, so to speak. It's very rare and precious, and whenever anything's rare and precious, it's a high price. It costs more than gold. It's highly valued. People covet it. There's a lot of connotations around even using such a medicinal product. So I'm going to go through a few of the oils that I have. There's a few I'd like to get. There's some I've had and I no longer have. So I want to be able to let people know, some of where I'm at and what's going on with it. The first one we'll look at, this is my pure box. Bless it. This is a Cambodian oud. It's from Agarwood Consulting, under $200, good shipping, sent to me very well packed, and they describe it as sweet, fruity, woody, smoky fragrance, tobacco and plum notes, very long lasting. This one's real nice. It's not the thickest, most vicious oil. He told me it's 100% pure. I don't know. But it's real nice. I've had this oil for about 3-4 months. Has a little bit of sweet funk to it. Lasts well over 10 hours on my personal body. I've used it several times. Very good oil. I have a bunch of samples from oud.com. I believe they have around 6 or 7 species. They have a good price. You buy by the Tola, which is around 11-12 milliliters. And some of them I was a little skeptical of, but they were all pretty nice and decently priced for the grade. This one right here, the Manimar Matini, excuse me, I'm not the best at this, is really, really nice. This one's nice. This one I highly recommend. If I got any of them, This would be the one I got. I believe it's around $400 a Tola. It's well worth the price. That one is totally the best one that I've seen they had. They had two Cambodians, a Laos, which is pretty good, and a Borneo, which I also am interested in purchasing. A few others that I have, let's say, are from more streamlined companies. I have two from Enfarage. I have a Laos Sambat and a Kadim. This is the Hindu Kadim. Very nice oil, very expensive, over $100 a milliliter. I use this sparingly. It's in one of my blends, but I only use a teeny bit combined with some of the other Hindi Agarwoods. It's deep, it's mysterious, it's lasting, it has transformative, great sillage. I highly recommend this one, but it's expensive, you know, but it lasts a little bit, but you can only buy 1 ml. It's a shortage on the supply, and they only, I believe they use some ethical harvesting, so they would only really get a little bit of it. The other one I have of theirs is the Laos Sambat. Really nice one. A little bit of that cheesy smell, which is traditional in the Laos, but it's beautiful. It's got a little swampy funk to it, which is delicious. This one has great sillage and transformative power. Great excuse me. See, it's a process. Knew it smelled different. Sambat. Save that other one for a minute, excuse me. So, their Laos Sambat, rich ripe fruit top and underlining dirty, earthy balsamic, teeth grinding, mouth watering characteristic. They say it's almost vetiver like. You can go to Enfarage's website and they'll give a full description. I see they have the other variety of Laos, which is the one I was really interested in. Might get me to get some. Really nice. For the price, this one I highly recommend. The other one I had, which of course I'm not a professional, maybe look at the bottle before I open it. I was like, oh, this one's a little funky. Yeah. This is White Lotus's Asim. Very nice. Hydro distilled. Beautiful oil. Beautiful. Dark, thick, creamy. Very animalistic and strong. I would say this one is in comparison to the Enfarage's Kadim. Little cheaper, but very nice. I would say the Kadim is more of an internal twist and pull, whereas this one kind of is very clothy and fulfilling. Very nice oil, very beautiful, great for the price, limited supply, I'd like to mention. Then there's a few, let's say, that I'm okay with. They're pretty good. Two I have are the Outermentaries. I have an Outermentary, aged Cambodian, super thick. Super thick. This is a dilution that I have left over. This is just from what didn't come out of the bottle. And you can see how thick it still is. It still hasn't come. I use coconut oil when I do dilute to utilize what I can't get at from the beginning in my pure settings. Very thick, very gooey, very beautiful. Ah, like that one. A little expensive, but it's thick. This one I've used, taken out all the oil that I could and is left over. I'm not saying it's comparison. It's from a different species. Can't really see it that well, but it's almost the same color as one of my other Cambodians. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just trying to share some of my great stuff with everybody so they're familiar. The other one I have from Outer Mentary is the Super Louse. The Super Louse, it was, I don't know, they describe it as sharp, spicy top notes and unexpected sweet during dry down. Apples, tobaccos, cranberries, anise seed. I don't know, they say it's a perfect choice if you're trying to get into it. It's not very expensive. I personally didn't feel it had some of that twang and deepness, and I describe as funk, sweet funk. A lot of top. When it did dry down, I did see some of that blooming, but I have use for it in my repertoire, so to speak. But if you're looking for an oud and you want it to smell outish, I technically don't suggest it. This right here is Eden Botanicals CO2 Asim, which is made from a booyah wood, which means I believe it's unaffected wood. And to go into a little bit about the affected wood, a parasite, a fungus, something attacks, something attacks the tree, and that causes the tree to react and fight back, and it releases this, so to speak, resin, which encompasses a lot of the wood, and the more it's infected, the better the wood, so to speak, I am told, would be. So certain distillations do not use the infected wood, and this is one of the distillations. It's Eden Botanicals CO2 Agarwood Oil. Not super expensive, long lasting, very thick, and to me it has a uplifting awakeness to it. It has some of these really good principles. Some of the deepness doesn't really necessarily have the funk, but there is some beauty to it. And for the price, if you're using it in perfumery or blends, it does have that base where you could encompass some of that fruitfulness in your flavors. Rich, balsamic-y, animalistic, bouquetness. I don't know. There's a lot of tenacity, and it definitely stays in dry down. Long time. Very, very nice. I got this 4 or 5 months ago, 15 ml. Still have a little bit left. It's deep, kind of ambery. Real nice oil for the price and for some of my uses. I use this in several of my special blends, and it fills and transforms some of the other components that are in it, as well as those agarwoods. Don't really have too many of these types of oils. This was gifted to me. I have about 3 other ones, but this is Oud El Harriman. I can't smell any oud. It actually's kind of got a nice little fruity smell to it. It's not expensive. Maybe for someone for perfumery. I don't smell any oud. Maybe somewhere along the lines there is, but be careful of what you're buying. And if it ain't costly, at least in some respect, unless it's a hookup, it most likely is not real. They use the term like Denel Oud. I haven't seen any Denel Ouds that are pure. I don't think that word means that it's pure. I would be very cautious on how I purchased the Oud. A few other little tidbits I'd like to talk about. See if I covered some of the ones. Yeah, the one... There was a few more I wanted to discuss. I have some from what I purchased off eBay that I do not feel that they're pure ouds. This one's actually pretty good. Cambodian. Still don't feel it's a pure oud, but it is a nice oil. One of the ones I've wound up using the most. First, I felt energistically the Cambodian, which I do use a lot, but I've had an kinship to the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese, I believe, is the most over-harvested and very difficult to get. I've had difficulties getting the Vietnamese. If anybody can help me get a reputable, good source that is not destructive, I would love some more of the Vietnamese. It's turned out to be one of my main go-tos in my blends. Now, a few things, and I won't go into it much about what I do in my blends, but these are the pure oils that I mix to make into my spiritual medicine alchemical blends. I use Miron glass. It's a violet glass, and I have a drop topper. Awesome bottles. I highly recommend it to everyone. Is these dropper bottles, especially with something so precious as this. Back in you go. Very good dropper bottles. Block out a lot of the light. This is my Malaysian. Use Malaysian. That one needs to get filled with the Indian. Got my Laos, cheesy and funky. 3 varieties. Delicious. Thailand, found a couple good sources for the Thailand. You can usually get it for pretty cheap. The Vietnamese, beautiful blends. Beautiful blends come out of this Vietnamese. Such a great one. And then my Cambodian. Very dark, very thick, very gooey. I have 3 varieties in here, all delicious. And so, different species I found give different energy transferings. So I've worked really hard to find combinations that encompass an outlook which can bring about transformation. This transformation comes through the use of essential oils, pure oil blends that are preyed on, energistically purified, incensed, spiritual arid, and then I infuse mineral energies into the blends to give it a set vibration. Excellent stuff. So I just wanted to give a little bit of something to everyone. I apologize if I'm not the most formalist. All this information is used for educational purposes. I do not wish to condone or convey or to administer anything to anyone without their own self-doing. I would like to thank you for your time, and peace and blessings.